Did you eat my other half of my cookie?
I think the ants did.
Oh, I saw a little one over there.
All right, I will now call to order the town board meeting for March 5th, 2026. If you would all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Marr, would you like to do roll call?
Supervisor Sheldon.
Here.
Councilman Cahill.
Here.
Councilwoman Wright. Here. Councilman Hunter.
Here.
Councilman Wagner.
Here.
Attorney for the town Taylor.
Here. All right, up first, it is now March, which means it is Women's History Month. So Deputy Supervisor Hunter will be joining me as we are presenting to the Women's Club of Webster. Amen.
Oh, that's Missy.
Yeah. Deputy, would you like to start us off?
Sure. Whereas women's history in the United States is comprised of an extensive collection of stories, leaders, and traditions that are critical to our national identity, it remains important to acknowledge the individuals and accomplishments that helped found, build, develop, and improve our nation. And whereas the designation of a time period to celebrate women's history began in 1911 with an international conference among a collection of European nations, intending to highlight the historical female experience on a global scale. When the United Nations began sponsoring the holiday in 1975, the United States began to celebrate this occasion widely, and whereas in 2026, Women's History Month is an annual effort continuing this tradition of spotlighting women, women's empowerment, highlighting achievements, and recognizing contributions to society. This month is a significant promise to remember the struggles endured to codify a women's right to vote, drive, own land, and control their own destiny with the same opportunity experienced by men.
And whereas each month we recognize Women's History Month and appreciate the vast achievements in science, the arts, entertainment, politics, and every facet of society made by women, and whereas the tradition and legacy of progress sustained in this region lives on today, from inspiring female figures working to ensure that the promises of the Constitution apply to all citizens, the women's suffrage movement and beyond, we revere the contributions of women and our nation, and now therefore be resolved on this 5th day of March in the year 2026, on behalf of the Webster Town Supervisor's Office, we recognize the indelible achievements of women and commemorate March as Women's History Month in Webster. And I would now like to offer Missy Rosenberry, town hero here, to say a few words about the Women's Club in Webster and all the great work they do.
Well, that was wonderful. That was a very wonderful write-up. As Supervisor Sheldon said, I am Missy Rosenberry. I am the first vice president of the Women's Club of Webster. This is Diana Holzwasser. She is our president. I've got a few words. I promise I won't be long. You guys have been sitting here for a long time. Okay, then. On behalf of the Women's Club of Webster, we want to thank Supervisor and the town board members who have taken the time and the effort to recognize the contributions that women have made in our community, in our country, and in our world. The history books they focus on distant battlefields, but the history of Webster was written at school board meetings, volunteer clinics, and in unsung leadership of women who refused to see a local need go unmet. Women's Club of Webster is proud to carry that torch forward. For more than 60 years now, our members have turned those same values into action through volunteer service and a commitment to community, supporting charitable, cultural, and educational causes. So we proudly accept this proclamation as representatives of not just the women in this room or the women who are watching, but for the generations of women whose names aren't on the buildings, but whose hard work helped lay the foundation of Webster's character. So, thank you again. Appreciate it very much.
All right, now here is something new to me, but it is not new to the town. We have a public hearing to consider increasing the dollar amount threshold for the Consolidated Sanitary Sewer District, specifically the Woodard Road extension. So it is now 8:04 p.m. I will open the public hearing. There is still the open to the floor section after this, so this is not that time. So if anybody would like to get up to speak right now, it is specifically for the consideration of increasing the dollar amount threshold for the Consolidated Sanitary Sewer District, specifically the Woodard Road extension.
Supervisor, I would advise just providing a little more color where the amount was previously approved by New York State and the increased dollar amount that we are now requesting approval for.
Okay, Denny, do you have the? So previously, the dollar amount was $194,113. After looking into it and they got the cost back, it had increased to $380,200. Is there anybody here for the Woodard Road sewer extension?
Paul, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I could comment. This process dates back about 4 years now. Just to explain, the state has a threshold. It was originally in the $700 range, where the annual cost for a user within a special district not allowed to pay more than the $700 threshold without special state legislative approval. Now that threshold has since been raised to around $1,100. But it's been a very long process to get the state to approve it, and it's taken so long that the prices have kept going up. And we took it out to bid a couple of months ago. The prices came in higher than what our budget was. So it was kind of back to the drawing board. So now we're back with the state trying to get an increase in the cost. This time we have estimated the cost very high, $380,000. We don't expect that it's going to cost that much. I think it's going to be quite a bit less. But we wanted to build in a very large cushion in case the bids come in higher than they did last time. Then we can make a decision.
Did we contact the residents that are going to be impacted by this to see if they are in understanding and agreement with the increased cost?
Yeah, the residents have been in the loop on this. Rick's in the back, he could vouch for it. There's only 6 residents in this
Yep.
district. That's why the cost is so high.
Yeah.
And
Thank you
is-
for that, Rick. That's
And if I remember right, it was like 5 of them have communicated with us and 1 hasn't,
Right.
something like that, which is, you're not gonna get everybody on board all the time. Okay.
Now, I do have a quick question. We do not have the actual vote on this on the agenda, but I was told we can add it at the end. Is there a time frame on, is there anything that would happen if we delay this for 2 weeks to add it to an agenda and then bring it to a vote next week, or is time of the essence in this instance?
Time is of the essence, but the only thing that you're changing is adding 2 weeks to it. Once the vote occurs, assuming that it passes, there'd be a 30-day permissive referendum. After
Right.
that 30-day period expires, assuming no petition's been filed, we can then submit the application to New York State. So the only thing that would change is a 2 weeks passage of time.
Okay. I would leave that to the board for a simple yea, nay, if you're interested in moving forward with that later tonight?
Well,
Yeah,
we gotta have a resolution, don't we?
We can make a resolution at the end, right?
We can make a resolution. I would advise adding it at the end of the agenda after you get through
Yeah.
the entire agenda. After the public hearing obviously has been closed here.
That's fine.
You could entertain that resolution.
Yeah, so I'll bring that up at the end and see if everyone's interested. If we're interested, we'll move forward. If not, we'll add it to the agenda for a couple weeks from now. So is there anyone interested in speaking for the public hearing for this sanitary sewer district? No, and with that, is 8:08. I will close the public hearing. It is now the open to the floor for the public. And please be in mind, you will have 5 minutes. You are speaking before the board. Please speak to the board, not the audience. Public comments are limited to 5 minutes to keep meeting progressing forward. At 4 minutes, I will wave my hand, letting you know that you have 1 minute left. After that point, at 5 minutes, we will be moving forward. We will not be answering questions. If you want your question answered, please provide your email to an email address to the town clerk at the end of the meeting. We are very happy to get you the answer. This is for the audience. Please respect the speaker. There is stuff that is said that you may not agree with. They have a right to say it. And threatening statements will not be tolerated and may involve being removed from the meeting. With that,
Hey, Alex, can I ask a question?
yeah,
When you email residents out at the end, could you include all the board members?
absolutely.
Just so we could see?
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's kind of like a black hole of like.
No, that's a great idea. Like the,
Just copy us all in and
yeah, not a problem. We haven't had
I don't think
there has Anything been yet. any.
maybe that's why, okay.
Yeah, no, but I'm happy to add you guys in on that. That's great.
Yeah, so for all your residents, please let us know your email so we can please get back to you with questions and engage in conversation.
But yeah, the 5 minutes is, sorry, I just found out. Okay.
I just got a are you done?
Yeah, what do you got?
So, I believe you just stated that the board can't or won't answer questions if someone's up at the podium. It's my understanding that if we do wish to answer a question that is asked, we can do that.
It will take away from their 5 minutes.
No, they're done. Say their 5 minutes is over, they asked a couple of questions,
And
and
then
I
we
know
will
the
get
answer.
back to them afterwards.
I'm gonna have to review that policy because my understanding is that we do have the right to answer questions if asked by the residents.
Okay?
You do have the ability to answer questions. I think previous advice has been to take those questions offline and interact
Sure.
with them directly, but to answer your question,
I
Councilman Cahill, yes,
I just
you
wanted to correct that, yeah.
do. You do.
Thanks.
Yeah, so, but at the end, to keep things moving, you can have how about 1 minute to answer questions, if you do feel so at the end
Whatever
of
the policy says.
All right. All right. With that, our first is Mr. Mark Williams, so please approach.
Hello. Okay. Question came up tonight about how long it would take for the DEC to react to cracks in the cap. I think I can help answer that. Judging by the pictures in the annual Haley and Aldrich annual report, the pictures are taken in warm weather. The Haley and Aldrich report is sent to the DEC, or it's finalized, and I believe it's sent to the DEC in mid-March of the following year. I called Lynn Winterberger, the DEC site manager, December 9th of this past year, asking her about the 2024 report because it hadn't been made available yet. And she said that they were still reviewing it and it'd be made available after Christmas. So it's about a year and a half that the DEC probably would even see those cracks. Another thing Ms. Winterberger told me is the DEC is shorthanded. I called her in November. November 10th was my initial call with her. And in talking with her, she told me that there weren't any VOCs in the landfill. She said it was just non-volatile metals. So I had to take her to the reason of decision, the 1986 reason of decision, to show her the 6 VOCs or solvents that were in the landfill. Isn't that something? And so when I hear all this about the DEC being so great and I can go to bed at night and sleep so well, I don't buy any of that, I'm sorry. It's baloney. Then the other thing is, I like, my neighbors are concerned about rainwater getting into that cap. It's even more concerning given that the 2024 report from Haley and Aldridge showed that they discussed a 2/3 reduction in wastewater recovery. And from the graph that was included with the report, that started in 2022. So prior to 2022, they were recovering something like 1.5 million gallons a year, me eyeballing the graph, and it dropped down for a 3-year average afterwards, starting in 2022 for about 500,000. Groundwater not collected in the trench, if it does somehow manage to get down into the landfill, that could move into Grand Meadows subdivision. It moves north into the subdivision. And in the 2024 report, they said that Xerox continues evaluating the landfill pumping operations. That's just a wait and see. So the 2024 report was like the 3rd year of this 2/3 reduction in wastewater, 1 million gallons less per year pumped out of there, and they're just going to just wait and see. We'll see what happens. So I don't believe that this is zero risk. And the biggest problem is if this ever does migrate into our subdivision, there'll be no one doing that. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right, next is David Blaho. I hope I am saying that correctly.
Good evening. My name is David Blaho, and I currently live with my wife on the Pine Lakes Trail in the meadows of Webster Track with fellow neighbors. I've resided in the town of Webster for 34 years. I've paid over $200,000 in town and school taxes, just to give you some background, by virtue of owning 3 homes in Webster. We're committed to Webster. That's why we've been here so long. First off, I'd like to point out and make it clear, we, my wife and I, are not opposed to solar energy in general. Let's make that clear and simple, okay? However, we are opposed to its placement at this location, 139 Caracas Drive, for the following reasons. As has already been brought up on many occasions, the major environmental issues, the concern of disturbing the brownfield site. The cap is constructed of asphalt, to my understanding, which at the time, I'm sure, was designed to cover the site and not necessarily to hold up heavy solar panels, related hardware, including ballast to stabilize the solar panels. The site of the solar farm is approximately 20 acres. Of that 20 acres, approximately 17 consist of mature trees, which in turn house wildlife habitat. Those approximate 17 acres will have to be destroyed. Whether you tear them out, whether you cut them at the base, it's irrelevant. They're destroyed. They took years to grow. Most importantly, I'd like to point out, I don't think anybody, or well, not anybody, but I was shocked, and I've been following this for a while, to give you a visual size of 20 acres. That's equivalent to 15 football fields, and we all know football. 15 football fields, not stadium, fields. Regarding noise concerns, even if it's minimal noise, they can be what's called tonal noise, which is more annoying than broadband noise at the same volume. Currently, there is no noise. The solar panels can contain lead, or I believe it's cadmium. Excuse me if I get it wrong. If there is a breakage or fire, this could lead to more chemicals leaching into the ground. All of these issues have been brought up several times by different people. To me, this lends credence to the issues at hand. With all due respect, both Xerox and Montante corporations are worth multi-million dollars. If this vote is no for the solar project, it will be a minor setback for them. If the vote is yes, it will be 25 to 30 years of worry, annoyance, and concern for the community based on everything you've heard in our hearing. It's important to point out that what should be obvious, the everyday person works most of their lives to save for their biggest investment, that being a home. A lot of people take a lot of time and pride to pick out their home, especially their retirement home. Most of us in this community are retired, and more than likely, I know for sure, my wife and I, will be the last home that we'll purchase. With that home, there should be an expectation and ability to relax in a peaceful environment without unnecessary concerns that the solar project can bring. That being said, I'm asking you, please vote no to the installation of the solar farm at 139 Caracas Drive. I'd like to point out very, very quickly, in 2022, the EPA and the DOJ announced settlements with 4 solar farms in Alabama, Idaho, and Illinois, which led to over $1 million settlement. In 2024,
You are at your 5 minutes. But
in 2024, a state official investigated a large solar farm after heavy rains caused topsoil and silt to flood ponds and streams, creating dead water.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Up next, I believe it's your wife, Jen.
Hi, yes, I'm Jen Bleho. I live on Pine Lakes Trail. I know the previous speaker spoke to more statistics and research, so I'll defer to them on that. I'm really just here to speak as a lifetime Webster resident. My childhood home on London Road in the Village is literally 2.5 miles door to door to the home that my husband and I built to hopefully be our retirement home. And I don't know if that's just sad or a nice full circle moment, but I guess time will tell. But what I do know is that Webster has always been my home. And even now, when we're running errands through towns like Greece, Henrietta, Irondequoit, where we cringe driving through them sometimes, we're always so relieved to come home to Webster. And I have seen a lot of growth and change and development in Webster over my lifetime, a lot of which I've benefited from, like Holt Road Wegmans or the convenience of having Kohl's or Target nearby. But we've reached a point of saturation where enough is enough, and if we continue at this pace, we'll have destroyed our town like the others have been, and will no longer be a relief to come home to. Now, we have this monstrosity, which I won't give any deceitful, pleasant connotations to by calling it a farm or a garden, because it's just not, and it's not keeping with what Webster is supposed to be about. And on the contrary, it has many negatives and potential risks from being constructed in this location. So speaking only to location, I would say that you should disregard any messages of support you may have received, because, not because they disagree with me, but because anything I've seen or heard in quote-unquote support has only been advocating for solar power in general. Nothing about supporting it being in this location, and that is all this is about. You shouldn't be looking at this as we have so many residents in support, so many residents against, and they basically cancel each other out, because they absolutely do not. This is not a dispute over the pros and cons of solar power, because if it is, I'm pretty sure we're all okay with solar power. So Montante can feel free to take their panels, move them down the road, and dump them in an area that's already been destroyed, like a parking lot that sits empty, maybe an area that doesn't require demolishing almost 17 more acres of, not small, but very mature trees and plants that are home to so much wildlife, and a location that immediately backs up to a residential neighborhood, and most importantly, isn't dumped on top of a potentially dangerous, toxic waste area that could negatively impact the integrity of its protective cap. Why should it not go here? Because the safety of this location absolutely cannot be guaranteed as completely safe, and therefore shouldn't even be a consideration, because by the time an issue or problem is discovered, it will be too late. I believe the responsibility each of you has is to the residents of Webster and what legacy you want to leave behind and have associated with your names. Montante is going to pack up their presentation here and move on. They don't care about Webster or its residents, but you on this board actually are supposed to. You're going to remain here and are supposed to be voting with an ethical obligation to the best interests of the town and the residents you represent. Voting as if you are the ones living in the closest home to this project, as if you are the one personally being affected. Isn't it your purpose here to do that, to put the residents in Webster above all else, above politics, greed, grant money, outside pressures? And that's especially true for those of you, and you know who you are, who came to the planning board meetings, who voiced that you were against this project, and who you would be betraying every single resident who voted you into your position based on you saying that you would vote no. And really, shame on anyone for going back on their word and betraying anyone by even considering doing otherwise. And just mentioning the planning board in closing, they did their job, they followed their rules, they followed their guidelines, and ensured all the appropriate boxes were checked to move things on to the next step, to put this in your hands now. But I believe you're really supposed to be voting more with your conscience, keeping in mind what's best for the integrity of our town and all its residents. So all I ask is that you please keep our town and your responsibility to it and its residents, everyone who lives here, at the forefront of your minds, to please vote no to this project in this location. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very well said. All right, Jerry Burchard, you are up next.
Good evening. Jerry Burchard, 632 Pine Lakes Trail. I'm going to start out by saying I oppose the Montante Solar Project. And I would like to quote what our recently elected town supervisor had to say in the February 25th issue of the Webster Herald. You stated, "I am a passionate advocate for green and open space, and am always looking for ways to enhance the protection of these spaces as often as possible." Well, that is exactly why I'm here tonight. The Xerox land is green space. The 20-acre site proposed for solar installation is not a paved parking lot, not a rooftop, and not an already cleared industrial parcel. It is a fragile, capped, toxic landfill. Land that is too toxic for human use, yet deer, fox, coyote, and countless other species have made it their permanent home on otherwise unusable property. It is wooded green space that contains mature trees and established vegetation, actively capturing and restoring carbon every single day, a natural climate solution. Cutting down 17.5 acres of trees, which I'm quoting from previous Montante statistics, that have grown for decades to install solar panels on capped toxic landfills is not environmental progress. It is counterproductive. This is not an argument against solar energy. Renewable energy is important. The question is whether this is the right location and whether Webster has a coherent policy framework guiding these decisions. The honest answer is no, you do not. Shouldn't the intended result be to make conditions better for people living near toxic landfills so they can stay safe and healthy? What is Webster's townwide policy that advocates for climate resilience? The town of Webster is not registered as a climate-smart community, nor do they participate in the Clean Energy Communities Program, both longstanding New York State initiatives. What type of policy has the town adopted that sets the standard for climate action plan? Where are the mapped preferred solar development areas, the greenhouse gas inventory, the emissions reduction targets? The town board is being asked to approve a large-scale solar installation without comprehensive climate or sitting strategy in place. This is backwoods. A special use permit requires compatibility with surrounding land uses and consistency with community planning objectives. Without clearly identified renewable criteria, without mapped priority areas, and without adopted climate goals, it is difficult to say that this proposal reflects the strategic community objective. Removing a functioning wooded carbon sink in a town that has not even adopted a formal climate framework raises serious questions about priorities and processes. I respectfully urge the board to pause, allow comprehensive plan processes to establish clear sitting policy. Evaluating one project at a time without policy direction is setting a premature precedent. Webster deserves a climate strategy before it approves projects in the name of climate process. A no vote confirms that you are a community that plans first and builds second. Please vote no.
Thank you, Jerry. All right, up next, Elaine Johnson.
Hi, Elaine Johnson, 626 Pine Lakes Trail. Over the last 2 quarters, residents have shared data, facts, and evidence about safety concerns about the solar project. Every brownfield is different with unique conditions. The Xerox brownfield requires that what is buried in the ground remain undisturbed, making this a poor choice location for this project. The town has a responsibility in picking the right location. This is key. Solar and environmental protection are not mutually exclusive. There is not enough evidence provided on this project to show that the waste and landfill will not be disturbed over the 30 years of this project. During the election campaign, in November, when you knocked on our doors and you introduced yourselves and your team, you shared with us that you were not in favor of this project and that it didn't fit with the town or with the town vision. You asked for our vote and our support. We voted for you and your team on the basis that you were not in favor of this project, so we're asking you today to stick by your campaign promises and vote no for a special use permit. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, Brian Solo, thank you.
Thank you. Brian Osello, I'm at 1479 Grand Meadows Way. New to the game, in a sense. We came in October and heard about the project, so did a little bit of research. But, again, there's been statistics, put out tonight, and those were great statistics. And I have a couple other little things to share about that. But, again, I want to appeal to conscience tonight because the thing that I see here that's screaming loud and clear is that there's 400 plus people being ignored in this decision, if it goes forward. There's been some painting of the broad stroke of the brush with painting of things like, I've heard the gentleman here tonight talk about sound, that there's not going to be any loud noises. Well, I don't think anybody was disputing that there would be loud noises. I don't think anybody would, vote for something like that, for loud noises. But that's not the noise that I particularly was concerned about and did some research on. There's something that it's the electrical devices generally produce more noise at half load rather than at full load. And they're low frequency noises. And they're an annoyance. It's not, again, something that's like a plane going by or something super loud. And everything fits within the 40 decibels that was mentioned tonight. And, but it's the 120 hertz where the core, the coil, and the fan noise of these transformers or inverters, which there's 18 of them if I'm still correct on that. But it's the magnetic hum, it's the loaded related buzz, and it's the fans and the cooling. The last time I was here, I played a little 17-second video. I'll spare you that again. But it's an annoying sound. There's so many other things that we can build foundations on. And speaking of foundations, it seems like the foundations came to a little bit of a crack tonight with some of the things talked about. And I know, and I'm going to give the wonderful people here the benefit of the doubt, that they weren't totally prepared for some of those things where the questions came with cracks. But, I heard one quick explanation that they would even build another foundation possibly under it. Well, if it's sinking, or if it possibly could sink, at that point. I know these are lighter, so we're not going to go through all those details. But if you add more weight, what does that do? And maybe the four corners and cracks. And it sounds like the DEC, which, we checked all the boxes. We said the DEC. We talked about all the different studies that were done. We heard about Xerox being a benevolent industry. Went through all the little lines of how Xerox is concerned. But Xerox is ignoring the will of the people here, which is over 400. And we have serious concerns. So again, I appeal to the conscience. Would you put this in your backyard? And that's the question. Because this isn't necessarily, again, about solar. I have a video again tonight that was from the CEO of Honeywell that I could share, but I won't, that expresses the fallacy of the return on investment of these projects. This is the CEO of Honeywell. So there's a lot to be said here. And the two questions that I'll leave with is this. Can Xerox or maybe Philips Lytle and their client, can they guarantee that the noise will not be an issue in writing where we can have some recourse if that becomes an issue? And I think I know the answer to the question, but I'm going to ask it anyways. But would you do that? And then also, we talked about, we started to go down this path, if, what if Xerox fails or if Xerox moves out? And if there's a bankruptcy, we didn't talk about that word. What if there's some bankruptcy? Does their insurance still kick in? These are a lot of questions that really do need to be answered. But it's about placement, guys. It's about placement. And again, last time, would you put this in your backyard? There's plenty of other places to put it in. Plenty of other places to put it in. I know there's a lot of money on the line. There's commissions on the line. There's resumes on the line. But 20 years down the road, maybe 15 down the road, maybe it only takes 10 years. If something happens beyond the control that was not anticipated, how are you going to feel if we let this thing just go based on things that are unknown? And the answer was, this is my last point, that they did not ever put one of these, and they can prove me wrong on that, over asphalt. They put them in other locations, but they've never put it over asphalt and in this situation. That has to raise some big question marks. Are we going to be the guinea pigs and the testing ground for that? I hope not.
Thank you. Up next is our good friend Chris Naka.
Chris Naka, 1065 Shoecraft Road. It's really great to see this many people here. There's usually not a lot of people here, and when the topic of the solar garden is up for discussion, you all show up, and we could go back and forth on the science one way or the science the other way, and I think this many people showing up with a resounding no is really the only thing that needs to be said. We're not going to them asking for anything. They're coming to us asking for something, and we're very clearly saying no. And it's kind of irrelevant which way and whose favor the science lands on. If people that pay a lot of money are coming home to their houses and are emotionally burdened by things in their backyard, that's the only side effect that needs to happen for this no to hold weight. And I hope, again, as many other community members have said, I hope that these types of things are not just done deals. They're not already written before, they're almost predetermined. And that when this many people decide to take time out of their day to come in and be a community and get together and work towards a common goal, that those efforts are not spat upon, and that they're valued, and that they're empowered to keep coming and keep having an opinion and wanting to show up every 2 weeks or every week whenever that they're held, so that this community can be cohesive. There's a lot of trauma and tragedy happening in the world right now, and really all we can do is look towards our community members and the people that are closest to us and form bonds with those people and get close with those people and work together to complete a goal with those people. And it's probably the healthiest way to push all those outside noises away from us. And I hope that this gets resolved in a way that leaves the residents happy and not just a few more tax dollars in the coffers or another company with another sale. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
All right, Sean Hanna.
Thank you very much. I will try not to use my entire 5 minutes. Mark, you indicated at the outset that you did not exactly rest easily at night knowing that the DEC was out there to protect you. Well, as the former regional director of the DEC, I can tell you you're a wise man. The DEC technicians who last came out to Webster to look at this site more than a year ago are not the ones who made this decision. This decision was made by the second floor of the State Capitol building. I was there for a long time. I know how it works, and I can guarantee you that's what's behind all of this. Additionally, I was disappointed to hear in all the discussions about these purported environmental benefits of this project that nobody ever mentioned anything about habitat. Habitat has always been what's driven my environmental activism, and I can't see a great deal of habitat environmental benefit to clear-cutting 17 acres of natural habitat. But that's actually not why what I'm here to talk about. I want to talk about something a little bit different from the topics discussed by the other folks. I want to talk about where this project came from. In 2019, the Albany Brain Trust decided that by the year 2030, 70% of New York State's electricity had to be generated by renewable energy. That's where this came from. They passed an act to that effect. And all the businessmen and all the power experts said, what? That doesn't really make any sense. Who is going to invest their own money in solar projects in upstate New York? It doesn't work here. It's not efficient. And Albany said, we'll pay for it with tax money, with the people's tax money. And the energy company said, they'll pay for all of it? Yes, we'll pay for all of it. Well, that's a great deal. So the applications all started pouring in, and people started patting each other on the back and shaking each other's hand, congratulating each other, because this was a great progressive policy. Now fast forward to last week. Last week, NYSERDA, which is the New York State Energy Agency, released a letter saying, wow, that was a bad idea. If we go through with this, The cost of electricity for the average New York State household is going to increase by $4,000 per year. The price of gasoline will go up by more than $2.30 per gallon. And so all the people who put this project into effect are now retreating. As we speak, and I mean literally as we speak, they are working, they are negotiating to get rid of this law. And when the budget is passed on or about April 1st, the law that gave birth to this project will be gone. And Montante and Xerox are trying to be the last passengers on the taxpayer gravy train. Now, I don't say that as a criticism. There are a lot of, like I said, the last people on the gravy train. There were a lot before them. But the problem is, you guys do not owe a responsibility to Montante. You don't have a responsibility to the Xerox executives in their Connecticut houses. Your responsibility is to the people in this room who are not making money on this project. And you are here, and this is in front of you, because the other people who are making money are asking something extraordinary from you. Something to which they're not entitled. Something that they should only be granted if you think it is in the best interest of the people of Webster. It is not. This is not in the best interest of Webster. Webster gets nothing out of it. The people don't get anything out of it. And the people you're here to represent are very much opposed to the project. You need to do your jobs. You need to vote no. You need to exercise your conscience. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean.
Great points, thank you.
All right, Mary Durand. Mary, are you still here? Oh, yeah, you don't have to if you don't want to. Oh, of course, of course. And that was the last person on the sign-in, but I want to make sure everybody gets a chance. So is there anybody else that would like to speak? I see our good friend Monica. And as a reminder, Monica, the rules apply to you too.
Okay. I'm going to be brief. My name is Monica, and I live on Tall Birch Trail. And hang tight.
Can you pull the mic closer to your, thank you.
That's surprising, because most people can hear me without a mic. I only have one question, then I have some stuff I want to go over. Is it possible to make it a smaller solar farm so not to disturb the wildlife habitat established on the land already planned for this project? I know nobody can answer my question now, it's just a question. Because I am an animal lover, more so than caring about people. But I am for the solar farm. Okay, so I want to start with a few of these things. People brought up the noise. Solar farms are generally quiet with noise limited to low-level daytime hum, 30 to 40 decibels. Forgive how I'm talking, because I had a tooth extraction, so I'm talking funny. Another thing, distance. Noise from inverters often falls between 38 decibels at 100 feet and is generally inaudible from 500 feet away. And from my understanding, these are going to be further, okay? So it should be pretty quiet, or nothing. Mitigation, sound control design such as acoustic fencing or enclosures, and I believe the trees are going to be put up, which would also cut back on any noise or whatever, can be installed around inverters to further reduce noise level, sometimes down to 27 decibels. Time of day. Inverters only operate when the sun is shining, meaning the primary noise source is silent at night. And most people, even though that you might be retired, I'm assuming you don't spend 24/7 in the house. You go out. At least most of us do. So solar farms are rarely considered a major noise nuisance due to these low, manageable, and largely daytime-only sound levels. Okay, hang tight. What do I have here? Now, I'm assuming that everybody has a microwave, and people used to be afraid of the microwave when they first brought it in because, you know, people were afraid of cancer, sterility, blindness if you stood too close to it. Well, they've come a long way with that, and solar farms have been around, I believe, for quite some time, so I'm sure they improved on certain things because of people's concerns. Okay, I'm going to go to that in the last. Hold on one second. Oh, also, solar farms are not considered bad for human health and are generally safe to live near with negligible negative health impacts according to North Carolina State University and other studies. And some of those other studies were done by Columbia University. They produce no air pollution, they operate quietly, and emit only low-level, non-ionizing electromagnetic fields comparable to household appliances, which do not damage the DNA. So if anybody's concerned about that, you're safe. EMF levels at the edge of a solar farm are extremely low and well within safety limits, posing no risk to residents or those with pacemakers. You know, Gunay, what do you call it? Gunay, thank you. It's not so far from here. I don't know, is anybody concerned about that or their safety, you know, issues? I know I was when I went there to do a lecture for somebody, so, anyway, safety and toxicity. Components are sealed, and materials like silicone do not leach into the soil or water, meaning there is no chemical toxicity risk. See, that's my problem with my speech. Health benefits. Solar farms improve public health by reducing reliance on fossil fuels. I'm not getting political, people. This is not a political issue, all right? I'm just looking at things on other levels where we could all maybe agree, and if we disagree, maybe we can come to terms. So it decreases harmful air pollutants that cause respiratory and heart diseases. While not a health hazard, some residents may experience noise from inverters or visual impacts, but these are managed via proper planning. And I do believe that the company has pretty well established a good plan.
Thank you, Monica, you're 5
I'm
minutes.
sorry, that went fast.
It did.
Well,
You're a good
okay.
speaker, that's why.
Well, you know.
Yeah, would anybody else like to speak? Going once, going twice, sold. Okay.
Let's rock and roll.
All right, moving on to the regular town business now. We have all reviewed the minutes, so I would like to make a motion to approve the minutes for the February 19th, 2026 workshop.
Second.
Supervisor Sheldon,
Aye?
Councilman Hunter,
Aye.
Councilman Cahill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Wright,
Aye.
Councilman Wagner.
Aye.
I would now like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the February 19th, 2026 town board meeting.
Second.
Supervisor Sheldon,
Aye.
Councilman Cahill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Wright,
Aye.
Councilman Hunter,
Aye.
Councilman Wagner.
Aye.
Nick, you had the dubious honors of bill signing, so.
Sure. I have reviewed the bills and found them to be in order. And for that, I make a motion to consider to approve the bills as submitted by the Director of Finance.
Second.
Councilman Hunter,
Aye.
Councilwoman Wright,
Aye.
Supervisor Sheldon,
Aye.
Councilman Cahill,
Aye.
Councilman Wagner.
Aye.
I would like to make a motion to approve the prepaid warrants as submitted by the Director of Finance.
Second.
Supervisor Sheldon,
Aye.
Councilman Hunter,
Aye.
Councilman Cahill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Wright,
Aye.
Councilman Wagner.
Aye.
I would now like to make a motion to approve purchase orders as submitted by the Director of Finance.
Second.
Supervisor Sheldon,
Aye.
Councilman Cahill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Wright,
Aye.
Councilman Hunter,
Aye.
Councilman Wagner.
Aye.
I would now like to make a motion to approve the 2025 budget transfers as presented by our Director of Finance.
Do you want to
Second.
go over those first, Paul? Is there anything you want to share?
We finalized our 2025 accruals for accounts payables, and it just created the need for a handful of more budget transfers.
Motion's
you.
made, so second from anybody?
Yeah, I'll second.
Supervisor Sheldon,
Aye?
Councilman Cahill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Wright,
Aye.
Councilman Hunter,
Aye.
Councilman Wagner.
Aye.
All right, so our next one is actually a pretty fun one. We're looking to apply for a Transportation Alternatives Program grant for sidewalks in the West Webster Hamlet. For those of you who were here last week, there was a presentation on it, but I do want to give the board an opportunity to ask any questions to Josh Artuzo, who's here, about the grants, as it will require a 20% match if awarded. So I'd like to start with Nick. Do you have any questions?
No, I'm all set. Thanks, Josh.
I'm all
Jen?
set.
Jen?
I'm good. We went through it.
I'm good.
All right, then I would like to make a motion to authorize the submission of a Transportation Alternatives Program grant for sidewalks in the West Webster Hamlet and to pledge support for the required 20% local match if awarded.
Second.
Supervisor Sheldon,
Aye?
Councilwoman Wright,
Aye.
Councilman Cahill,
Aye.
Councilman Hunter,
Aye.
Councilman Wagner.
Aye.
All right, so as discussed earlier, for the FEMA, I would like to make a motion to set a public hearing for March 19th, 2026 to amend local law number 1 of 2024, flood damage prevention ordinance to reflect recent FEMA flood mapping changes to be advertised in the Wednesday, March 11th, 2026 edition of the Webster Herald.
Second.
Supervisor Sheldon,
Aye?
Councilman Hunter,
Aye.
Councilman Cahill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Wright,
Aye.
Councilman Wagner.
Aye.
All right, next one is sewer, but Rick, you are here to answer any questions about bid packaging for Barton's and LaJudas for paving. So, John, this is you.
Well, I just had a quick question. This went out to bid for engineering, correct?
This is the paving?
Yeah, it did, right? So it says the resolution to authorize the town supervisor to sign with Barton and LaJudas to prepare the bid package, okay? So as far as the engineering groups that prepare these bid packages, there's multiple engineering companies in the county that prepare these types of bids. I can't recall whether we solicited different engineering companies to prepare these bid packages.
Well, this is a cost we pulled out of the current project as a town-owned cost, but BNL is the engineer of record, so we just felt it would be better to stay with someone that already knows the project, knows what's going on in the paving, and allowing them to manage this project, this paving project.
This might be a question to you, Paul, because I know you put the new, process together with respect to professional services, which no longer require RFPs unless it's over, what, 40?
50,000. John.
50,000, okay. But we could, just because this Navitas is, it's a different project, it's run differently. If something like this occurs, like we decide to do something different, could we send it out to bid because it came out from underneath their umbrella? Maybe that's a question for you.
It would be best
Town attorney.
practice to get quotes.
Pardon?
It would be best practice to get other quotes.
I think it was a standalone project. If we had nothing else going on at the plant and we were going out for paving, I think maybe it'd behoove us to do that, but this, BNL already knows the project, knows what's going on there. I just think the setup is easier for them to take over and do this because they're part of the current project already.
Well, and I don't necessarily disagree with you, but, $50,000 and the plans are already drawn. It just seems to me to be a bit exorbitant.
No, the paving plans are not drawn yet.
Well, I thought I
That's
saw.
what this is part of it.
I thought I saw the site plans.
There's conceptual, yes,
Okay.
but final design has not been done on paving, because there's a lot of things that have happened during this project.
Gotcha.
Buildings have shifted, we've decided maybe there's other paving areas we'd like to do while we're doing this, so it's
So
kind
there's
of,
additional
no final
surveying
design
that's
has
gonna
happened
have
yet.
to go on, or no?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Is there new surveys have to be taken before the plan can be put forward? Or-
I'm sure that's all part of this construction drawings and the bid process, package.
So, Rick, with this, right now, it doesn't include any meetings. Do you feel like you'll need to meet with them to?
Oh, meetings are included.
To go over that?
Meetings are included.
Okay. And then do you feel like testing needs to be done on the road surface? You've done enough testing of this project that you don't need to do more testing on before you paved it?
I think testing is part of the whole project anyways, but it's part of the package price.
Okay.
So they do core samples, right?
Yeah, because again, I stated that certain areas have been added possibly as we're looking at this, and we're looking at access because certain, where the flare location was, we might access there that we didn't think about. So it's, while the project is happening, we're seeing things that we might want paved around or not, so a lot of this areas might have not been core tested yet.
So they will contract with whoever does their core testing. So
Yeah.
that core testing is included in this amount of money.
All of the
So-
testing, right.
So we won't get a separate bill and an AIA line item that'll call for core testing.
Well, I'm sure that may be a line item in when the bid package comes back.
Okay. That's all the questions I had.
Kyle, have you reviewed this in terms of the liability section, dispute resolution, et cetera, liability cap, all those?
This contract was not sent to me for review.
Okay.
Well, that's a problem.
Yeah, I can show my opinions out there right now, but I'm not a lawyer, so I think we then need to get it legal reviewed, because it's not awful for us, but there's things we might want to shore up in there in terms of the dispute resolution, mediation, arbitration, where it would be held, et cetera.
I think might want to table this for Kyle
Yeah,
to
Rick,
review.
are you good with this waiting a couple weeks for Kyle to review?
Sure.
All right.
Just
I'll
want to
then
make sure we
Rick,
get on the
you know-
spring schedule or on the,
Rick, real quick, in here it says, under task 1.3, it says no meetings are included with the scope of service.
I have,
So just-
well,
just
did
click
you
like-
look through the whole proposal? Because when
Just-
they break down the cost, there is meetings involved in that.
Yeah, but there's a line with meetings with no time, so just clarify, we're gonna look at this, just clarify with them, like,
Okay.
that just means some, I don't know why it says task 1.3 meetings, no meetings within the scope.
Okay.
But otherwise, they say meetings with just no
In their
cost there.
breakdown
so
of costs, they have meetings
Just
involved.
clarify, because obviously you said you need
Okay.
meetings.
Will do,
We want to make sure we have it.
will do.
And then, yeah, we'll get legal review.
All right, I will make a motion to reschedule the Barton and LaJudas preparing bids packet to solicit bids for the paving needed in connection with the wastewater treatment Phase 2 project at a cost of $48,500 for 2 weeks until the March 19th, 2026 meeting.
Is that 49,500?
48,500.
It's
Mine got
49,500 per the
49,500.
contract, it's just a
Mine
typo.
has 48.
I think
Mine
it
was
a typo.
corrected.
All right, 49,500.
Just for continuity.
Yeah, because the
Yeah.
actual contract says the 49.5.
All right. Yeah, so motion to reschedule for an additional 2 weeks so that legal can review said documents.
Second.
Supervisor Sheldon,
Aye.
Councilman Cahill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Wright,
Aye.
Councilman Hunter,
Aye.
Councilman Wagner.
Aye.
All right, up next, for those unfamiliar with artificial intelligence, it has increased significantly over the last several years. Earlier this year, Microsoft rebranded all of their Office to be named Copilot, which is also the name of their AI program. In this interest, I thought it was important that we initiate get an AI policy set up. So our Director of Human Resources had sent a memorandum to the town board after working with our IT department, communications department, and legal in order to draft an AI policy. It basically states that if somebody wishes to use AI, they have to go to their department head for its valid use, after which it is vetted by IT to ensure that it is secure before utilizing it and that no confidential data can be entered into AI programs. Anyone have any questions?
I don't.
I have a couple, I'll be quick. Kyle, are there any additional FOIL considerations when we use AI?
FOIL considerations? Any record would be subject to FOIL, so if it creates a record, that certainly would be within the scope of it.
Like right now, obviously, like with our email, there's probably steps we do in like Microsoft to ensure they're not like deleted. So if an employee types something into Copilot to search this, do we need to work with Microsoft to understand how to preserve those records? You know, if someone types it in there and it has to be now foilable, we need to preserve that.
Yeah, that would.
Do we need to,
There'd have to be an understanding around, how those records are preserved.
Yeah.
And I think that would be part of the vetting process. Like before-
Microsoft Copilot, and Steve Peace, our IT director, asked me to say that Microsoft Copilot is currently exempted, is part of the tenant agreement with the town right now. So Copilot is not included. But if you were to use ChatGPT, it would be this, but that is after, that's a good question for after approval from the department head and then IT utilizing that for that one. But Copilot is the one that is included due to our licensing tenants.
like, included in terms of backup?
It is allowed to be a utilized AI, and yes, there is a backup in terms of Microsoft tenants for Copilot within our IT department. They can access basically anything.
Okay, just because we have to preserve those records. This is one
Yeah.
more thing. You know, with this, any kind of, you have an IT policy, and we've got cyber insurance we talked about last time. Any recommendations from our cyber provider on policy things? 'Cause we don't want to run afoul of this policy with them. Something good to look into.
No, Steve ran everything through based off of state guidelines. Parrington is the only other town with an AI policy. And then, Paul, do you know if Joe Parisi had anything to say?
Pardon, what was the question?
Would this do anything to our cybersecurity insurance by having an AI policy?
No, the question more, Alex, is we should check with the provider if they have criteria or suggestions. Because that's something like my malpractice provider with cybersecurity, for our AI policy, they said, here's our recommended draft. You can adjust it, but like, here's the guardrails, and like, don't go out of bounds on these, or we're gonna cancel your policy.
So I guess the real question is, has Joe reviewed this policy? Does anybody know if our insurance coverage for
think,
AI with Joe Parisi, has he reviewed this before we enact it?
Yeah, I'm not sure how it ties into the cybersecurity policy.
Okay.
I think
Because
it's
Garrett makes a
definitely
great,
thing that we have an
you make a good
internal
point.
policy.
Yeah, I mean, one thing, I just,
We're
in
paying
my
a lot of
business,
money
we have to have
for
this.
insurance.
This is the conversations we had with our provider when we adopted one of, they've got
Well,
recommendations.
this makes our AI use very strict. So if anything, this would be good for our cybersecurity insurance.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying it won't be good, but just, you always want to check that before, the worst thing with any insurance policy is you do something that causes them to say it's void for a claim later. So just, it's good to check in on.
Well, he should definitely review this and make, suggestions or bless it, one or the other.
Yeah,
And
no,
he's really gonna, he's gonna
We
run it
can
by
always-
the.
We can always move forward with this tonight and make adjustments to it after our insurance carrier reviews it, but it's paramount that our insurance carrier review this, I would think.
No,
And
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
I just want to get an AI policy in place just to protect
No, it's
ourselves.
a great idea.
Because it is quite rampant at this point, and I
Yep.
don't want us to get any confidential information out.
No, I
No,
agree.
it's good, yeah. So one other small suggestion in the policy, we've done a great job trying to define personally identifiable information, PII, that needs to be secure. Possibly just switch that to, we will comply with New York State technology law and the SHIELD Act, just because we have to do those. We can do more than that, but we don't want to miss something that's in those, because that's the bare minimum. We have to comply
Right.
with New York Tech law and the SHIELD Act.
Well, it sounds like there's some changes to this, and on top of the review with the insurance carrier, maybe we table this for 2 weeks and check with the insurance
Reschedule.
carrier. Reschedule?
Yes, we're supposed to use the word reschedule.
Reschedule now?
When did that
No
change,
more
by the way?
tabling?
When we adopted Robert's Rules of Order.
When do we do
Oh.
that? Are you making a motion to reschedule this?
I'm making a motion to reschedule item 9 on the agenda until our next meeting on March 19th.
I'll second.
Councilwoman Wright,
Aye.
Supervisor Sheldon,
Aye.
Councilman Cahill,
Do we want to add that we make sure, as part of this rescheduling, that it's sent to our insurance carrier for review?
That's
Yeah,
what I
that's one of
said,
what we
yeah.
do.
All right, aye.
Councilman Hunter,
Aye.
Councilman Wagner.
Aye.
All right, up next is a license agreement to allow a utility shed on a town drainage easement. I do not believe Highway Superintendent Pat Stevens is here. He did reach out to me earlier today and state that he did sign off on this. Basically, for those who do not know, somebody is looking to put a shed on something that is a drainage easement. He is aware that if he puts it up, the town has every right to tear it down completely if needed, so we can access that drainage. The superintendent of highways has signed off on the project. He says that typically we get a handwritten letter. He has been out of town for 2 days for the CHIPS funding, so he came and spoke to me right before this meeting. So,
Wasn't this shed already in existence?
Yes, it was.
They didn't realize
Yeah.
that the easement was there? Yeah, this has been going on for quite some time. I'm pretty somewhat familiar with this.
yeah, I remember the original board meeting for this.
Yeah, so I have no problem with it. Once again, I thank Pat for his review and comment.
Since this is
I'll make a
highway.
motion to approve a license agreement to allow a utility shed within a town drainage easement at 1140 Brook Tree Drive, tax ID 065.05-1-99.
I'll second that.
Councilwoman Wright,
Aye.
Councilman Cahill,
Aye.
Supervisor Sheldon,
Aye.
Councilman Hunter,
Aye.
Councilman Wagner.
Aye.
All right, the next one we've had some questions about earlier today. It is an agreement with Lifespan of Greater Rochester to provide elder source care management, very familiar in the town as WASPs. It is basically rides for seniors, services for seniors to attend, their medical appointments or any family gatherings. But this is also a part of parks, so.
I will move to authorize the town supervisor to sign.
Oh, I
a-
have some questions.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, just.
Yeah.
I'm
just-
sorry.
No, it's all right.
I really find that hard to believe.
Yeah, I know. So just trying to understand, like, because I didn't realize by the read of this that WASP was involved with this. So what's this is Lifetime?
WASPs is under Lifespan,
So WASP is a separate nonprofit that operates
as Lifespan, yes.
as Lifespan? Because that WASP was a separate nonprofit in Webster that provides services to Webster residents to drive cars only. They're a separate nonprofit. They're located here. I did some due diligence on them to make a donation on behalf of another organization. They were just a separate.
Their money,
501c3.
from what they told me, their money goes through Lifespan and then comes to them. That's how the town pays them out, as opposed to just writing them a blank check.
blank
It goes
check
through
directly?
Lifespan.
Okay.
But
Has it always been that way?
I don't know.
Because when I was mayor, I thought we wrote the check to the WASP.
This agreement here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the first, I don't believe this came before the town board last year, this agreement.
Because this is like,
He's saying this is the one that comes up every year.
Chris Bilo indicated that this has been in existence for a number of years, but I don't recall this agreement coming to the board
So we've been
last year.
signing it in past years without actually approving it?
No, I think what you're saying is you haven't seen this agreement before.
Last year, I don't believe this agreement came before the board.
So how did they get funded, I wonder? Wonder if it wasn't on their budget line.
and look, let's just understand, like, this talks about, like, providing services to seniors, and I thought Chris said there's a phone log of what happens with visits separate from WASP. I'm just wondering if we're, like, talking about two completely separate things here, because if we're giving them money to drive seniors around, I would think we'd want some liability protection to say,
Yeah.
like, it's a very short one-page thing that doesn't say liability, anything, so, like, I think we need some clarification whether this is WASP funding or Lifetime Senior Program to help with pieces.
Who moved this forward? Did Chris ask to get?
Yes, Chris asked. I also asked him to be here tonight, but he did not return my call, so I'm not sure.
Maybe
And-
we should.
I'm okay rescheduling this one
Let's
for another 2
reschedule
weeks.
this one.
Yeah, and just asking, even like some of the nuances, like the donation to residents, like technically as a town, we don't make donations, so
No, we
just,
can't do
yeah.
that.
So just, yeah,
Right.
it'll be good to look into this a little bit more and understand, is this WASP, is this Lifespan? Lifespan has an agreement with the county to provide services already, so this must be separate from that?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I will make a motion to reschedule for 2 weeks.
I'll second that.
Councilman Wagner,
Aye.
Councilman Cahill,
Aye.
Supervisor Sheldon,
Aye?
Councilwoman Wright,
Aye.
Councilman Hunter.
Aye.
All right, John, more sewer? All you.
What are we on, 12 now? Okay. I will move to approve PVS Technologies 10900 Harper Avenue, Detroit, Michigan, for ferric chloride solution for the wastewater treatment plant in the amount of $1,193 per dry ton for the term of 1 year, with the town having the option of renewing or extending the terms of the agreement for an additional 2 one-year terms.
Second.
Councilman Cahill.
Aye.
Supervisor Sheldon.
Aye.
Councilwoman Wright.
Aye.
Councilman Hunter.
Aye.
Councilman Wagner.
Aye.
Look, I'm up again. So I'll move to approve Bison Laboratories, 1000 Leslie Street, Buffalo, New York, for sodium hypochlorite for the wastewater treatment plant in the amount of $2.46 per gallon for the term of 1 year, with the town of having the option to renewing or extending the terms of the agreement for 2 additional one-year terms.
Second.
Councilman Cahill.
Aye.
Councilman Hunter.
Aye.
Supervisor Sheldon.
Aye.
Councilwoman Wright.
Aye.
Councilman Wagner.
Aye.
All right, last item on the agenda. Typically, this takes place at our organizational meetings. However, we had a vacancy in our Conservation Board. The Conservation Board Chair, Josh Artuzo, and I did a very, very extensive search with a lot of very qualified candidates, and came to Gregory Lawrence, who comes to us from Tetra Tech. He serves on the board of the Genesee Land Trust and is well-versed in seeker, which is going to help us out greatly with some initiatives. But Nick, you are the liaison to the Conservation Board.
He's here.
He is.
Yes.
Yes.
I had an opportunity to review his resume and
It's outstanding.
have a brief conversation with him this afternoon. I'm very impressed, and I think it's a great addition to the town of Webster. So
It's
thank you very
unbelievable.
much.
I'm excited.
Stand up so we can see you, sir.
Look at
Don't be
that.
shy.
To be fair, we did not do
Wow.
this reorg meeting for everybody, so he's this special.
So I will happily make a resolution to appoint Gregory Lawrence to the Conservation Board for a 3-year term beginning March 5th, 2026, and expiring December 31st, 2028.
Second.
Councilman Hunter.
Aye.
Supervisor Sheldon.
Aye.
Councilman Cahill.
Aye.
Councilwoman Wright.
Aye.
Councilman Wagner.
Aye.
All right, so I did say that if we wanted to move forward with the dollar threshold amount for the consolidated sanitary sewer, we could do that tonight. I just want to ask the board, do you guys feel we should move forward with that tonight, or do you feel we should wait an additional 2 weeks? And
I don't have a problem with it.
I
As
don't
long
have a
as
problem.
Kyle says there's no
yeah,
problem. I
There's
have
no issue with moving forward with the resolution tonight. The materials were available well in advance of tonight's meeting.
Yeah.
There's no additional materials to consider.
Carrot. Any
All right.
questions?
I'm good on that one.
All right.
I can come up with some if you want, though.
Just wanted to check
bet
in,
you
sir.
could.
Yeah.
Actually, John, this is sewer, so do you want to do the honors?
Okay. So I'm going to move that resolution, I don't know what resolution it is, that the Town of Webster Board approve increasing the maximum amount proposed to the expenditure on the Consolidated Sanitary Sewer District, specifically the Woodard Road Extension in the Town of Webster, to the amount of $380,200. That's my motion.
Second.
Councilman Cahill.
Aye.
Supervisor Sheldon.
Aye.
Councilwoman Wright.
Aye.
Councilman Hunter.
Aye.
Councilman Wagner.
Aye.
All right, that is everything. Does anybody have anything to bring before the board before we do our roundtable?
Well, I'm thinking a short roundtable, it's late.
Well, we're just gonna hit the 4 of us, 5 of us, but Garrett, anything going on in your departments?
Oh, well, first, I want to thank everybody that came out tonight, whether you're for or against this, for, kind of like Chris said, just your time being involved in what's happening in Webster is so important. You know, this is a major decision that we're trying to do our best to understand all the aspects, and thank you for your time. Now, for a fun event, the library is having their St. Patrick's Day fun celebration this Saturday at 1 o'clock. So have some fun locally in town. Hopefully, I'll see you all at the library Saturday at 1.
Jen, I know you got departments have some fun stuff coming up.
I do, but I sadly don't have all of the dates. Do you have the dates for the things that are coming up that I don't have dates for?
The Beat the Winter Blues, I believe, is this weekend. I think it is the 7th, which would be Saturday at 6. Gary,
Yeah,
you
it's
know this
tonight.
one.
It's tonight.
It's tonight.
Oh,
I'm
it's
sorry,
tonight?
it's Saturday night, because it's my
Saturday
birthday
night.
night, but I got other plans, so I can't go.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah, I was bummed at all. Why, you know, you gotta schedule things
See,
better.
I was too busy, so what I did today and a couple days ago was actually went and walked around the Xerox site because
You
I
were
thought-
trespassing.
I was, well.
You also said you made a field trip.
I did. I'm guilty also.
Well, I just, that's where I spent some time because I wanted to see what was back there and what is all involved. And I guess after looking at everything, it allowed me to come up with some more questions and we'll get those addressed at the next public hearing. I asked some of them tonight, but yes, I wanted to make sure that I was very well educated on that application, given the controversy around it. And like Councilman Wagner said, it is a very difficult decision to make and one that we don't take lightly. So there's that.
Yeah, I mean, the IUP vote will happen, they submitted for last month, they are okay waiting a bit longer, as long as we promise to actually make a vote prior to their deadline, but I know Councilman Wagner will not be here in 2 weeks, so in the interest of having a full board vote, it will be in 4 weeks from today. We will have it in the first meeting of April for the IUP vote.
I really appreciate you saying that.
Of course,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Yes, obviously I do as well.
Yeah. No, it's in order to have a full, robust conversation, as you
Yeah.
pointed out, for us to talk about this, but it also gives the residents, and you guys can answer, email them any questions. We have been receiving the letters, and any questions and concerns we do file off, we send off, we answer everything directly. It is all getting compiled, so nothing is being ignored. But, John?
So you stole my thunder because that's exactly what I was going to say, you know, to thank everyone for their input. And, you know, also, the residents of Webster really care about their community, and there's certain people have expertise that are applicable to the decision that we're going to have to make. And the board members don't look at that like, okay, the email came in, it's 4 pages, single space, I am not reading that, right? That's not how we look at things. We take a great interest and we do the deep dive into the technical emails that are sent to us, because there's things that have been pointed out to me that I'm not versed in. So I have to call one of our department heads or someone else to find out what does this technical stuff mean, because I want to make the proper decision based upon what's best for Webster, not what's best for Montante and not what's best for Xerox, okay? That doesn't really play into my decision-making. What plays into my decision-making is what is best for our community. And the more information that I can gather, the more educated I am with respect to my decision. And yes, I did trespass. I went out there and I walked all the way out back. And, you know, I own 75 acres of landlocked woods down in Yates County. I've been out there on that property since I was old enough to walk. So I know the difference between a dense woods and woods that have been taken care of and thinned out through the years. We log ours probably every 15 years. I don't think that place has ever been logged out. It's very dense. And they're gonna have to clear cut it. There's no two ways about it. They admitted it, so I give them credit for that. But that's where my decision-making is coming from, just so everyone knows.
All right, Nick?
Thanks, everybody, for coming out. I truly appreciate the feedback and the passion, frankly, because we need that more. I'm going to pivot and just give a little shout out to our communications department. We're going to have a survey that comes out on March 30th, and that's for residents to educate us on how you get your information so that we can better understand how to fulfill that. So more to come out there. I'll talk a little bit more on specifics next time when we have a little bit more time in our March 19th meeting, but just be prepared for that to come your way. And that's really, what a meeting. Thank you.
All right. Thank you guys so much.
Alex, I'd just like to say 1 minute of something before you close.
You, can you do it after we close? Do you want it read into record? Okay, you are the Conservation Board head. You are speaking about our new Conservation Board member. Please approach the podium. You have 1 minute, Dennis. I will bang the gavel on your head. Not really.
Okay, great. So I wanted to take this opportunity to welcome Greg to the gang. We'll whip you into shape, or your whip's into shape. I also want to mention that it was not an easy, we had a lot of great candidates. We were amazed, we were pleased, we were excited. We had a lot of really good candidates, and we spent an entire week interviewing people, and then a whole, what was supposed to be a half hour, probably an hour and a half, trying to decide who we wanted to have on the board, and it wasn't easy. And I'm glad to see that the other people, many of the other people who applied, we wanted to encourage them to participate because they have really greatly rounded abilities, and they're all not afraid to speak up. So I see a few of them here in the seating here already. We want them to continue coming so they can give us their input, so that's great. The other thing I wanted to just mention, we have about 20 seconds, 15?
No, you have 10 seconds.
Okay, so site visits. John and
Jennifer.
Since you've been out in the woods, walking around, trespassing, maybe we can use you to come on some of our site visits. We were out in the snow Sunday morning doing some in 9-degree weather, and
Thank you,
we can always
Dennis.
use some hikers to help us.
Happy
Okay,
to
thanks.
do so.
I'd love to.
Welcome.
Yeah. And with that, I will close the town board meeting.